Thanks for joining us on Sold Out Sports Talk on AFR Talk. Of course, you can join us. You can talk with us. You want to talk with me, Twitter, let's do it at SoldOut41 or on Facebook at Sold Out. And my guest, Howard Griffith, former two-time Super Bowl champion of the Denver Broncos and now Big Ten Network Announcer. He also is on ESPN Radio in Chicago. Catch him for some football there. Let's talk some NFL. You can catch him on his Facebook. Really cool. At Howard Griffith. Also, he's got a nice website, howardgriffith.com, and, of course, turboathletics.com, which we're going to get into with him. Howard, it's been a really interesting college football season. So much going on to change the landscape of football. Tell me what you think the most influential change that's been made to college football that's happened this year that's going to affect the game the most is.
Well, I think there's several things out there, and really I think one of the things that's happened in the Big Ten Conference this year is that we have the Leaders and Legends division, and I think it's something that the SEC has had for years now. But one of the things when the SEC became as dominant as they are right now, it was after they split the divisions and they had the North and the South, and you see just what's going on there. They've got two teams that are probably going to make it into the BCS championship game, that are coming out of that conference. So I think the other big thing that happened, and I looked only last week when you saw what happened at Ohio State by them hiring Urban Meyer, I think that is going to change the way football is done from a Big Ten perspective. I think when you start to pay these coaches, $4 million, you're going to have assistant coaches that are the coordinators that are going to be making $1 million now. This is unheard of and uncharted waters for Big Ten coaches and also assistants. Now, yes, Jim Tressel was making some money. Kirk Ferentz is making a great deal of money right now, but the assistants were always somewhere around $400,000 to $500,000 for the elite ones. So it might have had two of those guys. And I think now what's going to happen now is that it's more pressure now on these college coaches, and not just in the Big Ten, but throughout college football, to win and win immediately. And when you put that into the equation, having to win immediately and not being able to build and develop programs, you don't have that time frame anymore. I think it creates a very tenuous situation when it comes to recruiting players and going after players. And, some people, may look at that as, it's a win at all costs type of situation.
Howard Griffith, Big Ten Network. Of course, you look at your ratings, take a look at your TV guide, of course, for cable, direct TV, satellite. You can catch this is what we've gone to in college football. It's gotten so big that you have one network that covers just the Big Ten. And, going back to Urban Meyer, Howard, tell me what you think his top three positives are and what you think his biggest negative is in terms of based on what happened at Florida, and many people thought he'd be out longer, and, of course, the health situation and family, which is so important to him. What do you think the positives, most positive thing him coming to the Big Ten he will bring, and probably the one negative he's going to have to watch out for?
Well, I think some of the positives, obviously, credibility and notoriety from the coaching standpoint. I think if you look over the history of Big Ten, for the most part, Big Ten hires, even when you look at Woody and Bo, they didn't have that celebrity status when they came into a program. Urban Meyer is the first guy that's been hired that you can make a point that the guy that was fired, Jim Tressel, who had to resign, was a celebrity coach. He was bigger than the Ohio State program. It was Jim Tressel and the Ohio State program. That's the way Ohio State has decided to brand it. So that immediate name recognition is going to be there. A guy that's a proven winner everywhere he's been and been able to win quickly. So now all of a sudden he's being put into a mix of, this is a situation that still has great players. A team still has great players. So I think you talk about the pressure to get back into the national championship immediately is going to be immense on Urban Meyer. So I think you bring those things. I think it up the coaching that's going on in the Big Ten. I think the negatives, you've already hit on it. You talked about itself, the health concerns there. When he talked about in his press conferences that I found very interesting, is that college football, is so many things going on. You're trying to keep track of 100-plus kids, and you're trying to make sure everybody's doing the right thing. I think what I heard him say is that he got concerned with a lot of other things that were going on in the peripheral that were happening in college football or happening directly to his team, whether or not it was involvement with agents, whether it's involved, with some negatives that are going on in college football. I think he got consumed by a lot of that because he's trying to be perfect. And I think the quest for perfection is one of the natural things that I think drags coaches down and burns them out. So now he says his focus, he's going to ignore everything else. He's going to keep everything in center field and go right down the middle. And if it's not football related, I think he's already said he's not going to be concerned about it. There are other people, the responsibilities for handling that, and he's not going to get in the middle of it. He's only going to focus on football.
You know what I found interesting, Howard, about I had a friend of mine who knows him pretty well, Jerry Moore, who's the head football coach here at Appalachian State. And we were visiting the other day, and he mentioned to me that one of the reasons why he waited after Thanksgiving was obviously he wanted the confirmation of his wife and children. And he's got a daughter that plays volleyball at Georgia Tech. And apparently his daughter, before he signed this contract at Ohio State, put a contract together herself about the things she expected from her father before he made this move. And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, it is. And I think when you talk about, coaching at any level, it's consuming. If you want to be good, it takes a lot of work, no matter what level you're trying to coach at. And having a way for him to step away, see that, hey, I still have a passion for this. I just have to go out. I got to handle it a little bit different. And that's what he needs to do to make things right at home with his family, because they're the ones that have to live with him. I mean, they have to go through the changes, and it's never easy to be, married to a coach or to be the son or daughter of a coach. It's difficult because you're having to deal with people that are every day they're going to be questioning the job your dad does. And really, whether he's a good man or not, he's always considered a bad guy if he's not winning football games. And that's unfortunate, and that's one of the things they sign up for. But, it's good that he'll be able to get back to that balance that he needs to get to so that he can move forward as a coach and also as a family man.
Howard Griffith, former two-time Super Bowl champion with the Denver Broncos, now with the Big Ten Network. And, Howard, you brought up a really interesting point. I think all of us as fathers have to deal with that. And it doesn't matter whether you're in the limelight or whether you have a 9-to-5 job or whatever it is you do. It is always tough for us as men to balance our success and understand how important it is that we be successful at home. We have a lot of parents that listen to this program on American Family Radio. And I always ask this to guys like yourself because you've had a lot of success in your life, but you also have a lovely wife and children. And tell me about one thing you would tell parents out there that are struggling with that balance. So maybe one thing that you did that really helped you.
Well, I think you have to have a realistic expectation of your son or daughter's ability, and I think so many parents today get caught up with whether my son or daughter is going to get this scholarship, and so they're always pushing. They're pushing the kids all the time, and I tell the dads that are coaching in my program, I said, you're never going to be able to do enough. There's always going to be things that other parents are going to see that you're playing favoritism or different things like that. But I think you just have to take a step back. And for a lot of these guys and ladies that end up coaching, the best thing to do is not to coach their kids. Because if you can't be objective, which is very hard to do, and you're going to start treating your kid, you're going to coach your kid harder than you coach the other kids so that you can prove a point to the other parents that are around that you're not showing favoritism, that's not fair to your own son or daughter. So I think sometimes the difficulty is with the parents really stepping away, and that's what they need to do in a lot of cases, just step away and allow them to be coached by someone else. It's okay, coach them at home. But sometimes we get so involved and we get so emotionally involved because it's our kid and it's our team and we want to win, that you lose sight of ultimately what you're trying to do. These kids are just trying to have fun. Most of them aren't going to even play high school football. But we're treating them and talking to them like they're getting ready to win a national title and that our careers it's actually our 9 to 5s rely upon whether or not this team is successful on Saturdays and Sunday afternoons. So I think it's the parents having to get a reality check is the biggest thing I think they have to do when it comes to youth sports.
Great words from Howard Griffith out there. And, of course, if you want to know more about his football program, howardgriffith.com or turboathletics.com. And I'm going to ask you something that someone asked me. Final question. Howard, your kids are grown up. My kids are grown up. People always ask me this question. I'm going to ask you the same thing. When parents say to you, you're so involved in youth sports, well, Howard, why would you be involved with young people now? Your kids are growing up, and you've been through as a parent. But why is it important for you to be involved in youth football and with youth in your life?
Well, I think the most impactful people outside of my parents growing up at home were my basketball coach, my bitty basketball coach, my baseball coach, and soon I didn't play organized football, but I think about those coaches, the baseball coach that my parents turned me over to guys that had the same type of values that my parents instilled in me at home. Now, I know that's not always the case, but I think that's the responsibility of your parent. If you're a parent, you need to go seek out programs that are going to be teaching the same type of values that you want taught at home. You got to try to put your kids in the best situations that you can, that you want them to emulate, because there's so much power that these coaches, youth coaches, have over kids. You are shaping young minds. And by the time they get off to college, by the time they go to the pros, the people that they remember are those youth coaches, those high school coaches, because they shape their ideas. When they're having trouble in school, chances are they're going to one of those coaches. When they're having trouble, I've had kids that have trouble in school, the teachers are calling us to say, hey, we need you to talk to so-and-so because he's not getting it. He's not focused. And you have that type of power. And I think that's something that you can't take lightly when you have an opportunity to shape young minds, which all youth coaches have. And I think they have to take it very seriously because they are impacting the future.
Howard, I really appreciate you coming in, man. Will you come back and visit us again?
Absolutely, no problem.
Hey, watch for him. Michigan State, Wisconsin this weekend. Big Ten Championship, Big Ten Network, turboathletics.com, howardgriffith.com. Howard, you have a great one. God bless you, my friend. Look forward to talking to you soon.
All righty, take care. Have fun.